What's up, guys? I hope y'all are having a great day today. Just full of so much positivity and happiness, dude. And, well, maybe at least more positivity and happiness than Xbox bros are feeling right now. Because as things sit right now, the Xbox Series consoles are doing absolutely terribly when it comes to sales numbers, and overall they're being outpaced by the Xbox One if you compare both consoles at this particular point in the generation, roughly 3 years after launch. The Xbox One was selling better than the Xbox Series X and S are selling right now, which is not a good sign whatsoever, considering the fact that the Xbox One is one of the most controversial video game console launches of all time. It came at a $500 price point because they forced you to buy the Kinect, and even though they removed the Kinect a year later, you were still shelling out $400 for a substantially less powerful console than the PlayStation, which, you know, really just put it in a bad market position. But even with the Xbox Series S being around $250 routinely, and the Xbox Series X being at the same price point as the PlayStation 5 at $500, we've just seen a complete disaster for Microsoft when it comes to their ability to actually sell this console, and it doesn't really seem like anything they've done recently has been able to fix the biggest problem with Xbox, which continues to persist in my mind, and that is the complete lack of identity and direction for the brand itself. And I think the reason why we're seeing such a large routine sales drop-off when you compare to sales like in a particular month compared to last year and the year before that is because a lot of people were just buying an Xbox Series console because they couldn't get a PlayStation 5. You know, they went to the store, wanted to buy a next generation console. The PlayStation 5 was pretty much impossible to get for a very long time. I know because I was reselling both the Xboxes and the PlayStation 5, and the PlayStation 5 for basically 2 years after launch had resale capability, which is basically completely unheard of, and it just shows you the unprecedented demand and supply issues that Sony had in getting the PlayStation 5 out there. And the Xbox Series X was only resellable for maybe like a month or two after launch, and then it was routinely available, and pretty much there wasn't any money to be made flipping it because the console was always readily available. You could just order it directly from Microsoft, or in most cases whatever retailer you shop at. So there was never really an issue getting an Xbox, so I think they benefited early in the generation from just being the available option at the time. So now the PlayStation is firing on all cylinders, and it seems like they have their entire supply issue completely under control at this point, and now people are actually posed with a legitimate choice. Well, the option is pretty clear at this point. People are opting for the PlayStation 5 over the Xbox Series X in pretty much every single market you can imagine, whether it be North America, Europe, the UK, the Middle East, Asia, you name it. The PlayStation 5 is the most desirable console, and it's not even close at this point. The Xbox is dramatically lagging behind the PlayStation 5, even in its best market, the United States, and even more so in its weaker markets, where the gap between PlayStation and Xbox has never been higher at any point in the console's history as it is right now, which doesn't really set a great tone, especially when you consider how much money Microsoft has been spending and injecting into the Xbox ecosystem. They have budget offerings like the Xbox Series S to bring in people at, I guess, lower price points or children, and then on top of that, they have the quote-unquote Netflix of games, which is supposed to offer the greatest value in video games and entice people to play on Xbox platforms, whether that be on Xbox consoles, PC, or mobile phone. But we've seen something interesting with that, and that's the fact that Xbox Game Pass memberships have been stagnant for a very long time. They've kind of plateaued. The interest in the market seems to be completely tapped out at this point, and with more consoles not being sold at an accelerated rate, that number's not likely going to increase anytime soon because Xbox Game Pass has really failed to garner any sort of significant following within the PC ecosystem. It's done pretty well on the Xbox consoles, but when you're only selling so many consoles each month in comparison to your competition, you're not exactly gaining a large enough consumer base to grow the subscription at the rate that I'm sure Microsoft is hoping for. And then on top of that, they've been buying studios like Bethesda for over $7 billion, and just recently Activision Blizzard for around $70 billion, and even that news has not tipped the scales in any significant manner to push for more console sales at the Xbox Series consoles. And on top of that, they had had big game releases like Starfield and Forza Motorsport that maybe should have pushed consumers in the direction of buying an Xbox platform to experience those particular games. But we didn't see that sentiment materialize in any form of meaningful sales increases for the Xbox consoles like we've seen with PlayStation when it comes to their exclusive releases with Spider-Man 2, which, as much as I don't like that game, you can't deny how amazing it is at pushing people towards buying a platform because of how powerful the IP is attached to it, which is just something Microsoft has not been able to do with its own in-house and acquired studios, is get people interested enough to go out and drop $500 or even just $250 for an Xbox Series console given their first-party lineup. It doesn't seem like Starfield, despite the fact that it had 10 million players, not purchased copies, keep in mind. Most people played that game for free in Game Pass, but even though that game had 10 million players within the first, month or so of launch, it doesn't seem like it pushed the needle in any significant direction, and it seems like Microsoft is catering to its already and ever-decreasing base of consumers when it comes to the Xbox platform, whether that be on PC, Xbox, or even Game Pass cloud streaming on mobile phones. But recently we got the hardware sales estimates for console gaming across the board in October 2023 for Europe, which Europe, as it sits right now, is the largest market for console gaming, and overall it is not painting a very good picture for the state of the Xbox console brand at this point. But this is coming from VG charts, so take it with a grain of salt. It's not exact numbers. Microsoft has not announced sales numbers for their hardware since 2017 because their consoles have not sold well historically, so why would they want to rub salt in the wound and just, officially come out and say we're getting our ass kicked? So they remain pretty quiet when it comes to official sales numbers, but VG charts is pretty accurate. It's usually the most accurate you can get, given the fact that Microsoft doesn't want to come out and give any sort of information whatsoever regarding hardware sales. But anyway, the PlayStation 5 was the best-selling console in Europe with 621,000 units sold for October 2023, according to VG charts estimates. The PlayStation 5 has now sold an estimated 14.45 million units lifetime in Europe. The Nintendo Switch sold an estimated 223,000 units to bring its lifetime sales to 33.56 million units. The Xbox Series X and S sold 127,000 units to bring their lifetime sales to 6.7 million units. The PlayStation 4 sold an estimated 4,300 units to bring its lifetime sales to 45.87 million units. The PS4 is still going strong, baby. But anyway, PS5 sales compared to the same month for the PlayStation 4 in 2016 are up nearly 30,000 units, while the Xbox Series S and X compared to the same month for the Xbox One are down nearly 111,000 units. So keep in mind, guys, that's about a 45 to 50% decline compared to the Xbox One sales numbers, meaning that the Xbox One at this point in the generation, last generation, was outselling the Xbox Series S and X 2-to-1 at this point. The fucking Xbox One, dude. That just shows you how much ground Microsoft is losing in a lot of these large markets where maybe they weren't ever in first place before, but they're not gaining ground. They're losing it at a dramatic pace, which is not a good indicator whatsoever. So looking at sales month on month, PlayStation 5 sales are down by over 22,000 units. Xbox Series X and S sales are down 69,000 units, and Nintendo Switch sales are down by less than 1,000 units. It should be noted there are 4 weeks in October while there are 5 weeks in September, but even when you consider that fact, that is not a good statistic whatsoever. That means that Xbox had a 34% decline in sales in the month of October compared to 1 month ago in September, which is not a great look whatsoever, no matter how you spin it, even if there is an extra week or not. Like, that doesn't really account for that dramatic of a decline, especially when you look at how little PlayStation went down, when you consider the fact that it sold 600,000 and only decreased by 22,000 units, which is proportionally so much less than Xbox selling, 190,000 and then next month selling 70,000 less. That is a dramatic decline, and again, not a good indicator whatsoever. So 2023 year to date, the PlayStation 5 has sold an estimated 5 million units roughly. The Nintendo Switch has sold 2.75 million units, and the Xbox Series S and X have sold 1.34 million units. So just about a 4-to-1 ratio of PlayStations to Xboxes being sold in Europe this year, which is not good whatsoever for Microsoft, and really just shows you what a weak position the Xbox console brand is, whether you want to account that to games launching day and date on PC, you know, Game Pass diluting the value and I guess quality of first-party games, the overall lack of quality games from Microsoft in comparison to Nintendo and Sony. Whether you like the games or not is up for dispute, but I think we can all agree that PlayStation does a much better job of creating games in its specific genre that its fan base enjoys versus Microsoft, and especially Microsoft is not living up to the quality and quantity standard of Nintendo. I don't even think that's debatable by anyone. And to make this even worse, if you look on your screen right now, you'll see a comparison of European hardware sales year over year, and it shows that PlayStation throughout this year has seen dramatic increases in sales numbers, pretty much over doubling what it did the previous year, and in some cases 4xing what it did in prior years, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And for the most part, Microsoft is in the red for every single month except February and April, where they saw a 15-ish to 20% increase if you account for like a margin of error or whatever. So overall, the Xbox brand, by comparison to PlayStation, is doing absolutely horrific. And even if you compare it to the Nintendo Switch, which the Nintendo Switch is so late in its life cycle, we should really start seeing the sales numbers of that really cycling down, because everybody who wanted the Switch at this point probably already has one, and the fact that that console continues to sell as well as it does is absolutely insane, and a true testament to just what an amazing game developer and publisher Nintendo is and how unique of a piece of hardware the Switch was when it released. But overall, we should be seeing a decline in Nintendo's numbers, but even then, Nintendo's having better months than Microsoft in most of the months you look at. So that is not a good sign whatsoever, and it really just does paint a picture of the Microsoft brand and the Xbox brand, at least on the console side. I understand their revenue has never been higher, but when it comes to console sales, Microsoft is not in a good place whatsoever right now, and they're showing signs of essentially a dying platform at this point. When the Nintendo Switch, going on 7 years into its life cycle, is still dramatically outperforming you in pretty much every single aspect, even if you just look at it at a statistical level, whether it be sales numbers year over year, if the Switch is still performing better than you and it's on its way out and you're just on your way in, working up to the peak, which is about 4 to 5 years into a console generation, that is not a good sign whatsoever, and it really doesn't paint a great picture for the current state of Microsoft's console offering in the Xbox Series S and X. But I don't know, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you think Microsoft can do to fix this problem potentially? Do you think they need to dramatically lower the price? Do you think they need to change their approach when it comes to first-party games? Do you think they need to double down on actually releasing compelling offerings to get people to actually give a fuck enough about their console to go out and spend money on it? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. I thought this was pretty interesting, and it really is just kind of sad to see, in all honesty, because the Xbox Series consoles are much better consoles than the shitty Xbox One was, so to see them doing so much worse than the Xbox One at this point in the generation, when they arguably had a pretty great launch overall with a lot of great features and value offerings, it just doesn't seem to be resonating with the gaming market when you compare it to the PlayStation 5 or even the Nintendo Switch at this point. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure to hit the like button if you did enjoy this video. I do want to thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to check out this video and for all the recent support on the channel as well. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you guys all have or had a very happy Thanksgiving, and I will catch you guys next time.